Keywords for 7 is what's the most functional approach. Functional doesn't always mean nice, doesn't mean good, doesn't mean pleasant, although it could. Doesn't necessarily mean any of them. Functional needs what will create the most functional conditions for life to survive on this planet. So in general, let me give you some characteristics of 7. Is it possible only when the basic fears, the most basic human fears, are not there anymore? So what fears are there? So far, the human being was just like any other mammal. 1, a pawn in the hand of the spirit world. 2, an attacker of the world. 3, a sacrificer of the self. 4, attacker of the world but different in 5, sacrificer of the self again, 6, just in a different form. And in general, the social automation, society goes like this, I go with society. It's not the norms I just fit in and I just go along with whatever society requires from me. But according to Dr. Graves, the human being is not really fully themselves because they don't even know who they truly, truly are until they get to 7. Who am I? Who am I really? Depending on the values level, the answer would be different according to the different types of thinking, and none of them would be wrong. They would all be correct. 7 in general requires a multi-track mind. One track line is linear. It's just one track. Everything is linear, sequential, one thing at a time. A multi-track mind presupposes there are 5 or 6 or 7 going on in parallel, and the mind is able to negotiate all of that simultaneously. 7 has the ability to transcend dichotomies of either or, and to be able to handle dichotomies without any cognitive strain, which means you see this and that, but you're not copying either one of them. I can have this way or that way, or a multitude of many other ways around all of this to the context and according to necessities. So no cognitive strain, no care. Most people have suffered tremendously when they have cognitive dissonance, where the reality that you experience is different from the reality that's being told to you by a person or by the media. And there's such a dissonance between your personal experience and what you are told that the experience is or what it should be. And that's a massive problem because people are caught up in the dichotomy. That shouldn't be a problem if you notice it immediately. And that's what I experience, but that's what I've been told. But all I have is my experience. And then I'm looking and I'm figuring it out how to guard myself against the issues. So just do your best to be aware. And the more you train yourself, the easier it's going to be. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a matter of installing a new habit. But it's your duty and responsibility to install the habit so you can move forward. The ability to see subtlety and nuance, because there's all sorts of graduations between the dichotomies, infinite and finite, male versus female, spirit versus matter, 3-dimensional physical reality, or other dimensions. So another characteristic of 7 that he learns from anywhere, from any values level. They learn from anyone and love to learn from everywhere. It's a mind that just wants to learn. It doesn't matter who or what material. 7 is always learning something and forms new conclusions and connects new dots. A characteristic of the thinking of 7 that it draws upon multiple disciplines using analogical thinking, which is the opposite of digital. Digital's black and white. Analog is all the shades of gray in between. The human mind is analog in nature. We're not machines. We're not digital. Machines are digital. Computers have ones and zeros. That's why they're all digital. The human mind doesn't work that way. The human mind works analogically, meaning it draws information from one context, maps it across into something new to learn, and then draws other conclusions from other disciplines in order to form a new paradigm of thinking. And that's another characteristic of the 7. So virtually, if I was to chunk up out of all my examples and coming back to not getting caught up in the dichotomies and also handling paradoxes, because it's the same thing, typical characteristic of 7. So it's a normal growth, the progress through 7. It's a normal growth because of the problem created on the planet as a human race by values levels 2 to 6. It's a normal conclusion and development because in 2, 4, and 6, people have gotten into over denial of self, 3, 5, and over expression of self. So now I'm going to use a strong word, so be aware, and I'm only using Dr. Graves' words. He said that an over denial has led to the rape of self, and over expression has led to the rape of the world and other inhabitants of the world. These are what Dr. Graves said. I apologize. I use them and hope I don't offend. So I could talk about mining asteroids. All you have to do is search NASA website or phys.org. There are plenty of great science websites, and you're going to see that they're actually really serious about that. There are laws enacted by the United Nations and also in the United States, and in terms of space and their worlds, in terms of corporations, we can claim the mining of the resources they find on asteroids. Japan landed successfully some probes on a big asteroid, claimed them, and now they play it on the stock market. It already has a worth of many trillions of dollars. So we're talking seriously about going and colonizing the moon very shortly. They've proposed the mission to Mars, and I'm talking about space because 7 and 8 are very much concerned with the humankind moving off this planet into the solar system and beyond. Our role has expanded as civilization. That's why I'm talking about space. I'm also interested. I love that kind of stuff. So when you pay attention, that's where the action is. And you need to look, is this just a sensationalism or is there reality behind the pieces of news? But if you don't even notice them, then it'll just pass you by. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just bringing it to your attention. So that's a big one, functionality, as I said. And I want to say this again. What's functional is not necessarily pleasant, positive, or nice. Now let's talk about paradoxes because that's another key element for 7. 7 feels concern, but is not compelled to give a solution. Care, but not compelled to care. Help is displayed, but not compelled to help. It's not what others think that counts. It's not the success. It's not the prestige. It's not the power. It's the desire to do. 7 will work crazily like 5, but only in what they are interested in. They will work all day and all night just because they're interested in it, not because they have to work 9 to 5 and not because they have to make money. They're interested in money because they have to survive. Everyone has to survive, but food's important, right? So 7 lives in a world of paradoxes. Individual enjoys a good meal, but it's not compulsory to eat or run around to ensure they have a good meal every time. If it's not there, I don't miss it. 7 requires little compared to 5, but here's the deal. 7s can live in a mansion just as well as they can live in an apartment, and they'll be happy in both. Because 7 knows what power is better than 5. 7's gone through 5. 7 has learned what power is, but doesn't want to waste energy to run around just because of power, because it knows how to create power better than 5. And also knows that power itself is very limited in its usefulness. At the same time, 7 thinking is not afraid to apply power if it's necessary. Again, a paradox. So, human physiology. A person of values 7 will have a great time in bed if the opportunity is there. But if it's not, no big deal. They're not compelled. 7 is free of all the compulsions that belong to previous levels. They're free of basic fears of survival. They're not afraid of the elements in nature. They're not afraid of other predatory men and the dog-eat-dog world. And they're not afraid of some invisible force in the sky that stays with a big book and notes down all the mistakes or the command from the top of the pyramid, on the top of the corporations, or from the boss and the government. They're not afraid of not having money, enough money to survive, or not knowing how to produce what they need. All of those are about surviving. They're not afraid of rejection. They're not afraid of social rejection or non-acceptance, as in 6. All of that's gone. All of the basic fears are gone. So 7 can experience anxieties about the future, and they're in more communication with themselves than any other type of thinking, because thinking and feeling are, in a way, becoming united. In other words, in our own jargon, that's becoming more conscious, unconscious integration. The problem with 7, even though you may think 7's a be all and end all, and all in this enlightened stage, well, it's not. There are a lot of problems with 7 as well. And the first thing is that 7 has a total lack of commitment because they are on a binge of self-esteem. It's lovely. I know who I am, and I don't care what you think. But at the same time, I would love you to think good of me. But if you don't, good on you. They've got no commitment. A big problem in 7. They can walk away because they know that they can make it somewhere else. Now, they may say they have unionism or commitment. I'm here. But in general, they're not attached to anything. If they're inspired, they'll do everything. They'll work like crazy. They'll come back and work alone or in a group. Doesn't matter. But at the moment anybody or anything tries to put some tentacles in their way or try holding them down, immediately they back off and move away, and then they watch to see if those tentacles are moving away. If 7 doesn't get what they need in terms of their freedom, even though they will work like crazy and produce the most results, they will take what they need and they'll retire somewhere else to get the space for themselves. If they stay to work in the organization of the system, they'll do a good job, but not excellent, and they'll wait for change to happen because they don't waste energy until they're sure that all of those tentacles, metaphorically speaking, are removed. They won't go and sabotage or crusade against evil or 5s or anything like that. In fact, management that mismanages a 7 thinker always considers the 7 to be an ideal employee. And then they're totally surprised if the 7 thinker departs, very surprised. Especially the 4 or 5, they will think that 7 people are unemployed because they don't play the system game. So 7 is a paradoxical thinker, which by definition doesn't have the thinking this or that. If it was to be managed by a 4 thinker, and remember, there's nobody at one single values level, I'm just highlighting for you so you can understand the mismatch.